What's up, metas? We got news dropping left, right, and center in the Once Human Discord. This time on how seasons are going to work and what is coming in the future for Once Humans. This is big news. If you're a big fan of Once Human like I am, you've been sort of sitting on the edge of your seat wondering, how are these seasons going to work? When are they coming? When can we expect big changes, new maps, new deviants, new bosses, new mechanics? And they have pulled back the curtain and shed a little bit of light on how this stuff is going to work. So we're going to cover that here today together. It says seasons. Some servers will soon be changing seasons for the first time. The following is some useful information regarding Once Human season system. 1. What are scenarios and seasons in Once Human? What is the game like in the long term? Says we want to offer different survival experiences, so the game has a little something for everyone. We also want to keep updating the game so it's always exciting to play. That is why we've chosen to include multiple scenarios in the game. A scenario is the gameplay theme of a server. Once Human's global launch initially offered 2 scenarios, with Manibus focusing on PvE and Evolution's Call centered around PvP. In September and October, we're bringing in special events featuring new scenario content. September's scenario will involve faction-based PvP, while October will bring a cooperative PvE scenario with a new map and temperature-based survival mechanics. Also in the works are a scenario with unrestricted PvP and a longer season cycle, as well as a perpetual scenario. Furthermore, we plan to release at least 4 new scenarios every year. So this is big, right? This is big news. This is telling us, okay, if you're a PvP person, a new faction-based PvP server will launch next month. So that's pretty soon. If you're a PvE person, you'll have to wait a little bit longer until October, but it will be a totally new map with new temperature-based survival mechanics. So a whole new way to interact with the world, as well as a completely new map. That's pretty exciting. That tells me probably that the environment you're going to be in is also going to be pretty different. My guess would be cold, because we've already done a lot of deserty kind of stuff in the map we have currently. I'm going to guess we're going to go up into the mountains. We're going to have snow and it's going to be cold, and you're going to have to insulate or build fires or camps and things like that more often to deal with the cold mechanic, would be my guess. But even if it's not that, that's still pretty cool. That's going to be a whole different way of interacting with the world, a whole new set of probably food recipes that are going to help you with that. Deviations, I would imagine they're going to factor into that. Maybe you're gonna have a new type of camp that you can throw down, or there's gonna be like barrels or something you can light on fire or something like that in areas, different things like that. I would expect to see. So that's pretty exciting. New map means tons of new videos to be made and a whole new world to explore. So that's awesome. I really was wondering how long it was going to take them before a new map became available. And this is a bit of a look at, well, what does it mean when a new season, a new scenario comes out? How different is it going to be? Well, potentially quite different. Goes on further to say that seasons refer to individual cycles and progress within a scenario. The duration of each season varies according to the scenario. Each season will also be split into multiple phases based on the scenario's features. In-game content will be gradually unlocked as your server progresses through the season, ensuring that you always have something new to enjoy. Once all the scenario content is available and the season reaches the transitional phase, you can sign up for a new scenario while keeping your gains from the current scenario. Of course, you can also choose to continue playing, completing objectives on your current server until the transitional phase ends. Currently, the transitional phase is set to last 4 weeks. That's our vision for the game, which we hope will bring you a multifaceted and consistently engaging experience. So that's a lot to unpack, right? So they're basically saying a scenario is the individual rule set of the server, and a season is more referring to the map and things like that, and sort of the overall like sort of like placeholder that you're, or sandbox would probably be a better word, the sandbox that you're playing in. So they're saying the duration of each season can vary according to the scenario, which they've said that before. So we may end up in a situation where a season lasts 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 9 weeks, or maybe even less, right? 4 weeks, 2 weeks, different things. This allows them to really play with the progression of the server and the focus of the server quite a bit. And then we already know that the season is split into multiple phases. We're all experiencing that currently on the servers. We all know that the in-game content gradually unlocks as it progresses and all that. And then it says, once the scenario content, we'll read this again, once the scenario content is available and the season reaches the transitional phase, you can then sign up for a new scenario while keeping your gains from the current scenario. Now, hopefully they're going to expand on this as we move down here, but like that makes it sound like you can jump on a server, play for a few weeks, it eventually reaches a transitional phase, and then you can go and sign up for a new scenario while keeping your gains from the current scenario, which makes it sound like when you go to a new scenario, your character will come with you along with all the stuff you've already accrued in that season. That's kind of how it sounds. If so, that's interesting. And then they say, you can continue playing on the server you're on, completing objectives on your current server until the transitional phase ends. And then they say the transitional phase is set to last for like 4 weeks. So that's a pretty long amount of time if you're trying to play the game every single day. But if you're just chilling and you're like, all right, I'm cool with waiting 4 weeks for things to move forward or like a new scenario to open up, that gives you a little bit of an idea of like, okay, this is how long I have until the new thing is going to open up that I can jump into. The second part says, how do I sign up for a new scenario? It says you can sign up for a new scenario during the final phase of the current scenario. Once you do so, you can start your new journey right away. Alternatively, you may choose not to sign up immediately and continue exploring and fighting on your current server for up to 4 more weeks, during which you can sign up for a new scenario at any time. If you haven't decided on which new scenario to join by the time your server's final phase ends, your current server will be closed and your current character will be returned to Eternal Land, where you can continue playing or sign up for a new scenario at any time. So what this sounds like it's saying to me is it's saying if your server's set to run for 6 weeks for all the phases and all the content, when that 6 weeks is up, the server then goes into transition phase, which means that the server will continue to exist for 4 more weeks. During that 4-week period, you can choose to leave the server at any time and go to a new server, or you can stay and continue to farm mods or do prime wars, do whatever type of content that server already has available. And then at the end of that 4 weeks, then the server will close and all your stuff will be transferred to Eternal Land. And at that point, you can still then join a new server whenever you so wish. So after a season ends, you can still stay there and continue to farm for a little while if you're not quite ready to move on, or if you really like the rule set or something like that. So that's kind of an interesting middle ground between the people who were upset at the season idea and wanted a more permanent solution, and the people who are all fully on board with the seasonal wipe thing. They did say up here, of course, as well, that there was going to be perpetual scenarios coming to the game. So if you're, just really sad that this doesn't seem like it's addressing your concern about wipes, I think they hear you on that. It's just not available yet. Like eventually they're going to have some sort of perpetual scenario. So if like say if this kind of it doesn't have you excited and you're still upset about that, I think that is still coming for you. And then they included a graphic here that says scenario sign up process. So you've got choose a server scenario, create a character, play the scenario, sign up for a new scenario in the later phase of the current season. So then you start to split off, right? So if you sign up for a new scenario, you can play on a new server. If you choose not to sign up for a new scenario, you can stay on the current server until the season ends, or you can sign up for a new scenario at any time. If you choose not to sign up for a new scenario, even during the transitional phase, eventually all your stuff and your character will be sent to Eternal Land when the transition ends. Next thing says, when a scenario is over, does that mean I lose all my in-game progress? So this is a big one. This is the thing that's really bothering people. It says, no, it does not. We value the effort and time you put into our game. Even when a scenario ends or you exit a scenario midway, you'll be able to keep the rewards you've earned. There are a few exceptions, including scenario-specific items or mimetic items. However, to ensure that each scenario offers a self-sufficient experience and to allow all players to enjoy the game regardless of their progress, we have the following rules in place. This is where it's going to get into the details of what's going to carry over and what is not going to carry over. And this is a major point for a lot of people. But it says you can take the following content from their associated scenario to a new scenario. So characters and cosmetics, names, body sizes, fashion, cosmetics, character customization, data, emojis, actions, name cards, and titles. So these can be carried over. Materials, star chroms, Christians, Mitsuko marks, stellar planulas, sproutlets, light forge ingots, light forge relics, cosmetic tokens, colorful badges, and battle pass tokens, silver keys, battle pass XP, and more. Yes, important in-game progress content, gear blueprints and their ratings, blueprint fragments, weapon accessories, mods, including mod components, and food recipes. Yes. Furniture formulas and building house blueprints. These include learned furniture formulas, excluding those unlocked via mimetics, house blueprints, and finished furniture items. Yes. Seasonal items, seasonal honor shield patterns, cultivation essence, and more. Yes. Friends and group chats. Yes. Task completion progress. This is a big one too. For the main story task and side story tasks that you've completed in this scenario, you can play their streamlined variant in a new season or go through the full version for a second time. That's kind of nice. You don't have to do the extended full out version of all the main story and side story content if you've already done it. You're going to be able to have some sort of skip mechanic. We don't know exactly what that means yet, but it's going to save you some time, right? If you don't want to go through that story again. Event progress and materials. You can check them in the event screen, but yes. So, and this is broken down into what seems like two different categories, right? So you've got how to take away, retain for your character, and you can use it at any time. All these ones at the top. Retain for your character even after a scenario is over. So these are things that obviously these are kind of things that are like separate from materials and things you interact with in the game. These are more like systems and back end things, you know, your friends list, your story completion, you know, materials and stuff that you use to interact with like the shop and the menus and things like that. Those are things you don't actually like interact with in game. This is really the dividing line, I would say. This is menus, this is actually in game. But no, the point is, though, the major takeaway from this is none of this stuff goes away. It doesn't just poof because the season ended. You get to keep all this stuff. You get to carry over your blueprints, your mods. This is a big one. Weapon accessories, all those things you unlock in the world, the scopes and the silencers and the weapon mags and all that stuff that you spend all that time running around finding, all the videos I've made on all that content, all that stuff you're going to maintain and retain between seasons. You can take that stuff with you, so your time is not wasted just because the server wipes. You don't lose everything. The only thing you're really losing at the end of the day is your levels, your story progress, which you'll have to do again, but you'll have a streamlined version of it that you can do, and your mimetic stuff that you've unlocked, which makes sense, right? Because you're losing your levels. Those two things are tied together. So you have to re-unlock your mimetics, you'll have to re-level, but you keep pretty much everything else. You keep your guns, you keep your mods, you keep your unlocks, your cosmetics, your blueprints, all that stuff, your accessories, all that stuff's coming with you, food recipes. You keep 99% of everything that is relevant to your character between scenarios. So that's huge, right? The only thing you really have to reacquire are the materials, your base building and your levels, you know, the stuff that you directly interact with the world with. And that's fairly logical, right? Because the rule sets are potentially going to change, right? Like there could be totally different resources in one of these scenarios. Maybe iron and copper and stuff doesn't exist, or you know, a high-end resource is now introduced that's different. Instead of eventually building toward tungsten, there's a new resource that you make weapons out of or ammo out of or something like that, right? Like, this gives them so much freedom to play with this kind of stuff, and that stuff is the point of the game anyway. That what else are you going to do with all your time if you're not actually leveling and building up and progressing and all that kind of stuff, using the materials in the world? So this is good that they're making this plain and obvious, because I know the wipe thing was something that a lot of people were very afraid of when it came to this game. They didn't want to lose all their stuff, but you're not losing all your stuff. Now, again, they are looking at adding a perpetual season as well, if this still isn't to your taste. If you're just really wanting to like have your base build and be able to log in at any time and do your stuff, they do want to add year-round servers. They've heard that feedback, but I think in the meantime, consider playing the game and interacting with it and realizing that your effort is not just going to be wiped out because the season ended. It's really not as bad as it seems. And then they have a second chart here as they continue to go on. It says weapons and armor, regular resources such as materials, medicine, and bullets, deviations, calibration, blueprints, and energy links. All this stuff also in the yes category. The weapons, armor, resources, deviation, and calibration blueprints, it says, will be retained in your Eternal Land depot. You can bring them with you to other scenarios so long as you meet the requirements. And then it says energy links will be converted to astral sand and use it to build on Eternal Land or buy supplies. So your energy links are not going to carry over. They're going to be converted into sand, which is the currency you use in Eternal Land. And then all the other stuff, the weapons, the resources, the deviations, all that stuff will be kept in your Eternal Land, and you can bring them over to new scenarios, but there's going to be some limitations on that. So this is what we were talking about before, like how I was speculating there may be different materials available or different deviations available and stuff like that. Some of them they may restrict and say you can't bring it into this particular scenario. But if there isn't a restriction, you can just bring over that stuff. But there's going to be limits, right? There's going to be a limit on how much you can bring over. And I think that is currently available in the game, even though you can't really interact with it, right? Because the scenario hasn't ended. So we don't know entirely how this is going to work yet. And I don't know if they're going to expand on it here. But, you know, there is going to be some sort of limitation. And then it says you cannot take the following content from their associated scenario to a new scenario: map exploration progress, character level and XP, scenario core gameplay items such as chaotic cortices and steroids, and specialization items crafted using mimetic specialization. So this is all the stuff we basically just said, right? Like, of course you can't carry over your levels, you can't carry over map exploration, you can't carry over core gameplay items that you have to acquire from the scenario, and you can't carry over mimetic stuff because you're not going to have your levels. So this is pretty reasonable, right? This is all you're gonna lose. So if you're one of those people that's worried about what is the wipe gonna do to all my time that I spent in the game, and you know, I work a 9 to 5, I can't play 40 hours a week, so am I always gonna be behind? Am I just wasting my effort even attempting to play because I can't keep up? I don't think you are. I think you'll keep all the stuff that you put most of your effort into. The only thing you'll be losing is your levels and your map exploration and stuff like that, which is pretty reasonable. That's really not that bad. That means you're sure you're going to be behind the guys who play all the time. That's unavoidable. But you can come into a new season with all the work you put into the previous one still available to you for the most part. So that's pretty nice. It says here, how do you bring items from Eternal Land Depot into a new scenario? It says you will have a certain amount of resource points when entering a new scenario. Each item you choose to bring into the new scenario will cost a certain amount of resource points. The actual amount required varies between items and can be checked in the game. You will obtain new resource points every time you join a new scenario. This is basically saying what they're going to call the resource that you have to spend in order to bring items with you is called resource points. Every item you choose you want to try to bring into a new scenario will have a different amount of resource points required. So deviations will cost one amount, materials will cost another amount, so on and so forth. So you'll have to sort of like make your decisions on what you want to bring and how much of it you want to bring into the new scenario. And there's going to be a limit. That limit may be different between different scenarios, maybe like 10,000 in one, 5,000 in another, 20,000 in another, right? Like it'll vary. And those things are going to stay. I feel like it should be noted that those things are going to stay in Eternal Land forever, as far as we know. So just because you don't bring those deviations over with you this time doesn't mean they're gone. They're still there. You know, if you decide to bring them over in the next scenario, you can. You know, you can always have that stuff available to you. So all that stuff's just going to continuously feed into your Eternal Land every single time you play a new scenario. You're just going to have this bank of stuff that you've unlocked and you've gathered and you've acquired available to you. And then it says, you know, you will obtain new resources every time you join a new scenario. So that whatever that limit is will just reset, right? Like you'll just have that available again. That's all pretty straightforward, right? That all makes a lot of sense. How restrictive that system is going to be, of course, we don't know yet. We don't know if it's going to be like, oh, I'm trying to bring over like 3 or 4 deviations. Oops, I'm at my cap already, you know, like, or how flexible it's going to be. Hopefully it's not like too restrictive, but I would liken it to playing like an extraction shooter, right? Like Tarkov or something like that, where you have your inventory of materials that you've made it out of the run with, and now you're making the decision, what am I going to bring into the next run? Now, the risk is not as high as an extraction shooter because you're not going to die, drop it all, and lose it, but you are making a decision strategically on what is most important to you to bring with you. If you've got like a maxed out 5.5 or 6.6 or whatever diggy boy that you want to bring with you into the new scenario, that way you can start acquiring resources at a high rate automatically as soon as you can get your little base set up, well, then you can do that. Or maybe you don't think that's very important because you always have plenty of resources. You know, you're like, I'm not too worried about getting resources early on. Let me bring over, you know, my really good maxed out combat deviant. That way I can run around and fight bosses and kill stuff in the open world that much faster. You know, maybe that's what you care about. You know, you can make those kind of strategic decisions, or maybe even be able to bring both. We don't know yet, right? Like, we don't know how restrictive it's going to be, but you can divvy up those points and make those decisions however you see fit when it comes to the new scenario. So that's pretty cool. I think that's a neat system. I've never seen a game do something quite like that. Like, say, the closest equivalent I could come up with is an extraction shooter. But I've never seen it in the survival space and never quite in this kind of system. I would also expect there to be some bugs and some not ideal interactions with this system to start out. So as this season is winding down, we're coming pretty close to the end of the first one, and a new season is going to be winding up. Hit them with the feedback on this. Let them know whether or not it's working right. Let them know what you like about it, what you don't like about it. I'm going to be doing the same, because some of this stuff is probably not going to be ideal, right? They're going to make some mistakes. But what I do like about these devs is that they seem to be listening. They seem to actually hear the feedback and implement it. That's still pretty huge. You know, I know not all of you guys are going to be in the content creator Discord, but they communicate with us quite a lot. You know, they're in there quite a bit, and we're giving them a lot of feedback. So when you guys post down in the comments and say, like, I'm having this issue, or this isn't quite working right, or I make a video on a topic and you're you know, it's not working the same way for you or something like that, I do report that stuff. I do let the developers know that feedback when I get it, both in game and on the videos and stuff like that. So if you guys are excited about how this season mechanic is shaping up, like what you're seeing here, if you think these are good changes and these are good ideas and you're now less worried about the seasonal mechanic, or you still have some concerns, let me know down in the comments. You know, let me know. I'll pass this stuff on to the developers when and where I can. I absolutely got your guys' back. And if you enjoyed this video, you like this sort of like live react sort of style content as we go through the patch notes and what's changing, what's coming out from Once Human, feel free to potentially drop a like and subscribe to the channel and support us here. I want to do more of this kind of style content for you guys if you enjoy it. I like bringing you guys the news because it's exciting for me, doing sort of a little bit of a live react kind of thing. And I think I'm probably going to end up doing at least a few more videos this week on some of this stuff that's dropping, because there has been other news and other stuff I want to cover, but I don't want to make just one ginormous like hour and a half, 2 hour long video, right? Like, we need to break it down into chunks. So appreciate you guys. Hope you guys are having as much fun with Once Human as I am, and as always, happy hunting out there.